After a short but thorough investigation of our visitor, I can say unequivocally that I have never seen anything on any cellular level like what we have in that other room.
You're listening to Fun with Horror with your hosts, Scotty and Andrew.
Hi, everybody. I'm Scotty.
And I'm Andrew.
And welcome to episode number 157 of Fun with Horror, the most wholesome horror movie podcast in the entire freaking world. This is the podcast in which two long-distance best friends stay in touch with each other by taking turns giving each other horror movies to watch and discuss.
I got to pick the last movie, and I continued The Thing from Another World's movies, whatever you want to call it, and I picked the 2011 movie, The Thing. And of course, with a T, of course, stay tuned to the end of this episode where we get to hear what Scotty's going to pick, and you may have already guessed it, but I'm excited to find out either way. Without further ado, though, buddy, how are you?
A horst is a horst, of course.
I know. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Yeah. We hope you have a great time listening to us, of course.
I hope so. I don't know.
Hey, buddy. Hi.
Hey. I love that anytime I'm on this podcast looking at you, I see your amazing, beautiful face, and you always have an awesome horror shirt, of course, and today is The Shining. But I'm joining you with one that you gifted me.
Clown in a Cornfield.
There it is.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Funny, I thought you were going to say anytime I'm on the podcast with you, and I was like, wait, is that like almost every episode?
It depends on the day and, how I'm feeling, I guess. Yeah. Some days I remember.
It's amazing. Some of the episodes, it's actually AI.
It is. That's true.
That's how advanced AI is, because people can't tell the difference between AI Andrew and normal Andrew.
That's right. And that's why I said coursed, because I'm AI Andrew today.
Oh, okay. I thought you said coursed to show that you're not, that you make mistakes.
Well, AI is not perfect. Thank goodness.
Oh, it's perfect.
Oh, no.
Just kidding. I hate AI. Just to get that out there. I can't joke too long because I don't want people to actually think that I love AI.
Right.
I've never used ChatGPT, ever.
Right on.
Whenever I Google something, I go straight past the AI overview. I don't even look at it.
Wow, look at that.
And of course, I hate AI art.
Oh, yeah.
Quote unquote art.
Takes from people, man. It takes from people.
I wish Art the Clown would kill AI art.
Whoa, dark.
Whoa.
Dark.
Horror references, everybody.
Man, you're good at this. You should do a podcast.
I know, and I should do 157 episodes before we get to one of the most popular horror movies in the world.
I know. Well, to be fair, though, our old rule, we were not allowed to pick a movie that we'd seen, So, we have some justification as to why.
You know what I say?
What?
F that rule. Wholesome.
You're right. That rule is a real stinker.
So, Andrew.
Yes, my friend.
I saw a movie recently.
What did you see?
Although by the time this episode airs, no, it's going to air pretty soon. But so, yeah, recently, I watched Bring Her Back.
Yes. And
as we know, Bring Her Back is the new movie by the directors of Talk to Me.
Yes.
I don't want to hype this up too much for you, buddy.
Okay. All right.
All I'm going to say is that I liked it more than Talk to Me.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think it's as quote unquote fun
Okay.
You know, I didn't think of Talk to Me as a fun movie, but
Right.
compared to Bring Her Back, it's fun.
Oh. Ooh.
It's got some fun aspects to it. Bring Her Back is a very dreary movie. And just like Talk to Me, it's got some scenes that are incredibly hard to watch.
Okay.
Even more so than Talk to Me.
Oof. Brutal. Okay.
But by the time the movie ended or after it ended, I was sitting there in the theater thinking, my God, this movie is a masterpiece.
Wow. Yes.
I can't wait to watch it again, even the hard to watch stuff. It was just a great movie. So
I'm excited. Talk to Me. I can't remember if it was, or when we did our year in review, I feel like I put that as my favorite that year, but I can't remember. Don't quote me on that. But I loved Talk to Me. I loved it.
My memory is also terrible, so I don't remember either. But you love Talk to Me.
I loved it. But so here's the thing. What's funny about this, I was looking up the directors of this, just because I'm really excited to go see Bring Her Back, as well as Talk the Number 2 Me, the sequel to Talk to Me, which they're working on.
Oh, okay.
But I was looking up the directors, and I thought to myself, they're brothers, I believe, but they look so familiar. I'm going, what? How do I know these guys from? What do I know them from? And then I lost my train of thought. I went and did something. As I'm driving, I went, oh, are they YouTubers I used to watch like 15 years ago, 10 years ago? And they are. They made these ridiculous and really dumb and silly and weird Ronald McDonald videos where they were like Ronald McDonald like killing, and they were silly and weird and wild. And sure enough, it was them. I was like, what? So their YouTube title is Raka Raka, I think. Racka, Racka.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's them. So I haven't seen these videos in like 10 years. But when I saw their image, I was like, I know those guys. And it hit me. That's what they're from.
Just to be clear, the directors' names are Danny and Michael Philippou.
Yes, thank you. Yes. Yeah. Isn't that weird, though?
Just keep calling them the directors. But yeah, that's weird. I'm going to have to look their stuff up now.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Just heads like, yeah. But it made me. I thought it was cool though, because they're obviously like some big names right now in horror, and then also the director of Barbarian is his new movie is coming out, Weapons, which he's kind of getting some buzz as well. And he was on the TV show The Whitest Kids You Know, which is a comedy. So it's just funny to see these comedic people creating these really great horror movies. I'm about it, man. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh God, I just hit me.
So let me get this right. You crash into a glacier. And then without enough information, you leave the cozy confines of your ship?
Well, maybe it was hurt and wanted to find some place warm.
Well, I guess it didn't find it.
The Thing was released October 14th, 2011, and it was directed by Matthijs van Heijningen Jr., and it was written by Eric Heisserer, based on the novella Who Goes There by John W. Campbell Jr. It stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Kate Lloyd, Joel Edgerton as Carter, Ulrich Thomsen as Dr. Sander Halverson, Eric Christian Olsen as Adam Finch. We have Adewale, and I'm so sorry if I butcher your name, my friend. Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje. Agbaje. I'm so sorry.
I'm gonna take a stab at this one.
Please, yeah, I feel horrible.
Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje.
Wow, see, you're so good at this, and I do zero research.
I could be wrong, but who does he play?
He plays, of course, Jameson. And then, sorry, let me jump back in. We have Kim Bubbs as Juliet and Christopher Hivju as Jonas.
That's right. Yeah, so Andrew,
Yeah.
before we get into spoilers,
Yes.
I am very, very curious. This was the movie that you picked, so you get to go first. What did you think of your first time watching The Thing from 2011?
I didn't know what to expect. And I said this in the last episode, and I feel bad. Maybe I shouldn't have. But it is a prequel, and I think you mentioned people may not have known that. I don't know. I mean, when it came out, I should say. Knowing that it's a prequel, man, I really enjoyed this movie. I had a lot of fun with it. But what about you? What did you think of this movie?
I have now seen it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I saw it, I didn't really love it that much. But then the second time I watched it, because I watched it again eventually because friends had said, I really actually like this movie. I think it's underrated. And so I watched it again one night, and I really enjoyed it that night. I was like, you know what? This is a fun movie. I think people are too harsh on it because it's a predecessor to such a popular, well-liked movie, you know?
Right.
Watching it again this time, I still like it a lot. I recognize its many faults. I have a bunch of quibbles.
Fair.
But I still like it. And the thing that I'm going to say that's going to be blasphemous to a lot of people maybe.
Okay.
Is that as good as the 1982 The Thing is, I think this one heightens some of the scenes in that movie and makes that movie just slightly better.
I have that same note, my friend. Something I was going to talk about. So I agree with you. I agree.
Boom.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. So now it's time to get into spoilers.
Yes.
Now, remember, everybody, we're doing a new thing where I'm going to give a major spoiler warning. But then after that, I'm going to talk about, or we are going to talk about any major trigger warnings. So if you don't want to know anything at all, here is the moment where you can turn the podcast off, go watch the movie, and come back and listen more. However, if you don't want to know anything about the movie, but you do want to know if there are any specific trigger warnings that you need to know about, we're going to tell you that right now. So the main things we talk about are animal deaths and other things that might really trigger somebody badly.
Right.
It's a horror movie, so we don't go into like every single little trigger because horror movies in their essence are trigger warnings usually.
Right.
Andrew, this movie has a dog, a husky.
Yes.
Does the dog die?
Yes. The dog dies. I know. Yes. I would say you don't necessarily see everything, but there are some moments where you do see some carnage, some leftover carnage. I went on, what kind of sparked us doing this was the website doesthedogdie.com. And I went there just to make sure I got everything. And one person said, it's roughly between 27 and 30 minutes. You'll see glimpses. Wow. I know.
That's exact, buddy.
Well, I know. Well, someone did the work for me, so I just I'm copying their words, but you don't see, it's not a full 3 minutes, but it does do glimpses. And if that is something that will bother you, then 27 minutes into 30 minutes in might be something you don't want to watch.
And I will say,
yeah,
I'm the more sensitive, I believe, of the two of us when it comes to animal deaths in movies.
I think so.
Okay. I can say that this did not bother me that much.
Okay, yeah.
You don't see it happen. You see the aftermath.
Right.
And it's not super, it's gory, but it's easily identifiable as not real and fake. It doesn't seem real at all.
I agree. Yep, I agree.
But if you're very sensitive to animal deaths, you may want to look away at that time. But again, we're not sponsored by them, but this is inspired by doesthedogdie.com. So if you want to know of any trigger warnings, go to that website and check out any movie that you're about to watch.
Yeah, definitely.
With that said, Andrew, it is that time, buddy.
Oh, man. All right, so what Scotty's doing, we're about to do the 3-minute recap. Scotty has his 20-sided die going. If when I stop it, if it lands on even, he will do the infamous 3-minute recap. If it's an odd number, I will do the infamous 3-minute recap. And are you rolling the orange 20-sided die yet, my friend?
I am, buddy. I have my virtual orange 20-sided die, and I'm just hitting roll over and over again until you tell me to stop.
Which I'll do right now. Stop.
Buddy, the number is 9.
That's me.
That means you get to do it this time.
Ooh, boy.
And this is fun because this is your first time seeing the movie, so it's fun that you get to do the 3-minute recap.
It is. Yeah, it is fun, but we'll see how I do.
Well, funny enough, I was a little bit lost, so I called my good friend Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje.
Your old
Get it?
friend. Yes.
Get it? Because I was lost.
I gotcha.
And he said, if there's anybody in the world that he would want to hear do a 3-minute recap of The Thing 2011, it was you, Andrew.
Adewale, thank you.
He said that during his entire time on Lost, there was nobody else he thought about more than you.
Wow.
And he's just been looking forward to this moment for all those years and until now. So,
Wow.
no pressure or anything, but, he hopes that you can make it under 3 minutes and tell us about this movie.
Oh, man. I'm going to try for him. Because I watched Lost back in the day. On episode 2, I started that show, man, when it aired.
Episode 2?
Well, I mean, like the second week it was on, I watched the first episode right before the new episode of 2.
That'd be hilarious if you've never seen the first episode.
I skip the pilot of every show. Yeah, I just go I dive right into episode 2. I don't need
like
backstory.
The opposite of me.
Right.
They call me first episode Scotty because I watched the first episode of a lot of series and then none of the rest.
This is why we're best friends. We just
we complete each other,
PB&J, dude. Yeah.
We're jigsaw puzzle pieces.
We are.
Do you want to play a game?
Anyway.
Wait, Andrew, Adewale is texting me. He's saying you better start.
Okay. I'm on it. Sorry, Adewale.
The timer is going.
Oh gosh. Oh no. Okay. All right. Here we go.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
The Thing begins with Kate Lloyd, our main character, at a working on something at a doctor's office. She's looking at specimen. Her coworker and partner friend, he works for someone else that comes and says, "Hey, we found something in the ice in the Antarctic. We need someone with your skills, your specialty, to come and look to see what this thing is that we found in the ice." And she agrees. So she goes out there with a bunch of group of mostly males and one female as well that are there looking at this thing that they found. At one point, they show her what it is, and she has to. They have to drill in to grab a piece of it to see what this thing is that's in the ice. And they drill in, and she's there to kind of guide them and figure it out. And they kind of go a little deep and hit it, and then bring out a little piece of it and study it. And the doctor that does this says, he comes out to the room after a while and says, I've never seen anything like this. This is a new thing. Never seen it. A couple guys go into and are standing up there at the ice when all of a sudden the thing that's in the ice breaks out and just goes crazy and leaves. Of course, they're freaked out. They all run around to try and figure out where this thing is. A couple go out to chase it, and one gets killed in front of his friend that sees it. They go out there and light this bad boy up. They burn it down, the thing, and the other guy is kind of being eaten, sort of, by the thing. And his buddy is injured as well as has major PTSD from seeing this moment. They bring the bodies, the creature, the thing in, as well as the guy that saw everything, and are studying it, and they even open it up and see that it was absorbing the guy that it was killing, and it popped out a metal piece from the guy. He had a metal piece in his arm or something, and it came out. It was like it couldn't. Well, we'll find out. But the guy that had sort of the PTSD that saw it, they said, we need to get him out of here, get some medical help. So they put him on the helicopter, and they start to fly away. During this time, Kate is looking in the bathroom and sees a little bit of a blood trail and goes over to the bathroom shower and sees that there are teeth fillings. I should have probably mentioned this right before all this. They are studying a little bit before, they're studying this thing and see that it can replicate. It can replicate things that it touches or absorbs, which is important, obviously. And so, anyway, she finds the fillings. She realizes that it's replicating. It's replicated as someone, and she realizes it's on the helicopter. So she goes out to wave them down. They decide to keep going, and one of the guy that did have the PTSD is the thing. No, it's the other guy. Excuse me. There's another guy in there that's the thing. And the guy with PTSD is seeing all of this, and it starts to transform, and the helicopter goes down. They realize, of course, this is bad news. Everyone kind of back at the camp. And it becomes sort of a who can you trust kind of a movie without spoiling. I mean, if you haven't seen the 82, there you go. It becomes who you can trust. At this point, one way to see if anyone has become the thing, Kate, being as smart as she is, realizes that it can't replicate things that are not, I can't think of the right word. It can't replicate like metal or other things that aren't part of the body. So she, being as smart as she is, decides to go and look in everyone's mouth to see if there's fillings. And if there's fillings, then we know that it's not a thing. And so she does this with a few of them, and some don't have fillings. And even her friend says, because I have nice teeth, I'm now in trouble. And so they kind of scoot half the group over to one side that could be the thing, and the other half that's safe on the other side. At this time, I believe, some of the group, or a couple of the group members from the helicopter crash come back, to which they're nervous, going, you shouldn't have survived that, you might be the thing. So they bring them in, and at this point, I think kind of all heck breaks loose, where one of them is the thing and starts to transform and actually absorbs into her friend that she was with at the beginning of the movie, and they become this sort of creature with two faces, which is pretty cool, and starts to go around, and then it starts killing everyone. We'll get into some of that as well in kind of the who's who and everything. At one point, I forget the other girl's name. She is the thing, and again, we'll talk more about this, but I'm running out of time. So towards the end, though, at one point we do see that they found the ship that the thing came from. They decide they've kind of fought it off, and Kate and Joel Edgerton's character by the name of Carter go and are going to destroy it. The thing kind of goes back to the ship. They go down there. At one point, they break apart or whatever, and the thing is about to kill Kate. She kind of gets away, and she brings a bomb with her, a grenade, which she eventually gets to and throws it at the thing and blows it up. She escapes, and Carter meets her, and they go up to the top, and they go, well, now what? Everyone's dead, essentially. It's just us. And Carter says, there's a Russian outpost, 50 miles back. We can take one of these vehicles and go there. And she looks at him and says, you know how I noticed that you when you came back from the helicopter is that your earring was on the left ear, and now it's not. And so she realizes this is the thing. She starts a fire on him, sets him on fire, and that is how the movie ends. Phew.
But wait, is it how the movie ends?
Oh, gosh, no, my favorite part. Oh, my gosh. No, this is genuinely my favorite part, which I was going to talk about. During the credits, we hear, I even got goosebumps thinking about it. We hear the theme from the 1982 Thing, and it jumps back to the base where we see some things from the movie, the 1982 movie, The Thing, which is wonderful. We see the husky dog is still okay. I wonder why. Because it's now the Thing. And another helicopter comes to see what's going on at the base. One of the guys survives and goes out there, and the husky moves, and he goes, we gotta go kill it. That's not a husky. And they go up in the helicopter and start going to shoot at the dog, which if you've seen the 1982 Thing, you'll understand what that means. But we don't want to spoil that, so enjoy that movie when we talk about it. Whew. There you go.
Well, first of all, I timed you, and you came in just under 3 minutes.
Hooray!
I've let Adewale know.
Yes.
And he texted me back, and he said, if Andrew is ever lost, I will find him.
Aw, I'm going to get that tattooed, man. That's beautiful.
If Andrew is ever lost, I will find him, by Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje.
And then under that, also by Scotty Love.
Yeah. I've said his name many times now, and I really hope I'm saying it correctly. I don't know.
It's better than what I did. I mean, I absolutely butchered it, so
That is true.
I know.
It was better than what you did.
We all agree.
So this is something we've mentioned to each other in text, but the question about talking about this movie,
I know,
is how much do we talk about the 1982 John Carpenter's The Thing?
I know.
And I've thought about this, and there's a lot that we don't have to talk about because even though most everybody listening to this has probably seen John Carpenter's The Thing,
Right.
what if one person out there hasn't?
Yeah.
And we don't want to spoil it for them. So let's just say I don't think it's a spoiler to talk about the very beginning of Carpenter's The Thing.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yep.
And also, there is a point early in that movie in which they go to the Norwegian camp
Yes.
that is in this movie. And I think we can talk about that because there's things that happen in this movie that they see when they go to the camp in
Yes.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
I would agree with you on that completely. Yes. Yep.
Other than that, we're going to be very careful about what we spoil from that movie.
Yes. I agree.
But yeah, so here we are. The Thing, 2011.
Woo-hoo, we're doing it, man.
I remember when it came out,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was a remake.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I guess I saw it and I realized it was a prequel, but then I totally forgot that it was a prequel. All I remember is that the main quibble I have with this movie, I have a few, but
Okay.
the main one, the part that I still do not like in this movie
Okay.
is the final act inside the spaceship.
I agree with you, buddy. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree.
How'd you feel about it? What were your thoughts about that whole spaceship scene?
I mean, there was a couple things, but I would say for me, it just felt like I really liked how, same with the original, it's just kind of this claustrophobic movie where it's sort of, I don't know the right word, grounded maybe, that might not be the right word, but it just felt more, oh, I could see this. And I don't know, when she steps in that ship towards the end, it just felt like a little bit big budget movie and like, oh, here we go, this is the crazy, and I don't know, it just felt less claustrophobic, less intimate with these characters. It just felt, oh, here's a Hollywood thing. You know what maybe that I'm not wording it the right way, but that it just felt too much, I guess.
You know what? Any way you word it is the right way because it's how you word it.
Thanks, buddy.
That said, you're wrong. No,
Oh, okay.
I'm totally kidding. No, I feel the same way. I felt that the whole spaceship was just a little bit too far. I felt that it was tropey.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes this chase scene.
Yep.
You know, it's the problem I have with a few other more modern horror movies is that you have a movie that's actually pretty good throughout the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then they have to end it with just like a silly chase scene. And then, you know, she throws a grenade in its mouth and says some clever line. I can't even remember what she says.
I don't remember either, but it was, something.
I think she says, chew on this, the thing.
No, I think she says, chew on this, the Thing 2011.
Yeah.
I think that's what she says.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing about this movie is that we don't really know what happened to her.
Yeah, we don't.
She never appears in 1982's movie, of course, and
Right.
and we got to assume that she just froze to death in that thing she was in, the tractor or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The snowplow.
Because isn't it just the one? And she lights it up. That's not going to work after that.
Well, she's in the second one, and who knows if she knows how to drive it, but
Oh, right.
we
Oh,
never
yeah.
see her again, so I just assume that she froze to death.
Well, unless we get the Thing 2026.
Yes, right?
I don't know.
The second story of the Norwegian camp.
Right.
Wow.
Oh,
Okay,
man.
let's talk about some other quibbles, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, so at the beginning,
Uh-huh.
the first snowplow thing falls in that hole where it's facing down and its headlights are shining on the spaceship and they see the spaceship.
Yes.
How the hell did they get out?
Yeah, dude. How did they get out?
They were like wedged halfway down this crevasse.
Yeah.
I like that word, by the way, crevasse.
I do too. I love it. Crevasse. Ooh.
But they were wedged down there, and then the movie like fades into the title card, and I'm just sitting. And then the next we see them, they're fine.
Yep.
But it's like there's a whole like daring rescue that had to happen because they're far down, and I think they would have froze to death before anybody could have actually got them out.
You know what? Maybe that's the Thing 2026. It's the story of how they got out. of the crevasse.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no thing at all. It's just them getting out the thing, crevasse. With a colon in between.
Well, most crevasses have colons. Am I right?
Oh,
yes,
I get it. I get that joke.
Good.
I get it.
Thanks.
I need a colonoscopy.
Oh.
Andrew.
Yeah.
What other quibbles might you have? Because I have more, but I want to see what you have too.
I don't really have that many, to be honest. The only other thing that I didn't quite get was at the end when she talks about his earring. I'm like, it's an earring. She says it's on the other ear, I think, and I'm like, but he can't replicate. Am I wrong?
Because she says, you know how I know that you were a human when I saw you in the whatever, because you had an earring. Or your earring, and then he puts his hand up to his right ear, and she goes, it was the other ear.
Oh, man. Okay, thank you. I totally misunderstood that last part, so I don't have any quibbles with that then. For some reason, I thought he was, like, pointing to an earring on the wrong, and she goes, it's on the wrong ear or something. I'm like, well, that's weird.
No.
Okay,
no,
that
he
makes
didn't have an earring on at all, and he put, So, as far as other quibbles go, is that about it for you?
It really is. Yeah, I don't have a lot with this one.
What did you think of the CGI?
So, I'm glad you asked. Obviously, we've talked about this. You know this about me. I love practical effects, and I love 1982 The Thing's practical effects. They're so gorgeous and fun. But I was thinking about it, and would it be cool to have practical effects for this movie? Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool. But I almost looked at it. I tried to kind of have a better mentality about it, and I went, I want to look at this almost like a time capsule movie, where when you watch the original Thing, at the time, CGI, I mean, there was maybe a little, but it wasn't really a thing. It was more the practical effects. Whereas in 2011, CGI became kind of the thing, to use, or what people were using. And so I looked at it that way of like, this is just kind of a cool movie in that universe that uses the effects that were known or used at that time. And I'm like, if we ever did get a future, thing, and like, let's say claymation for whatever reason comes back and it's the Thing 3 is claymation, I'd be like, that's really cool. Like, we're just using the different whatever effects are kind of done during that time. So I kind of gave it a different mentality spin on it, and I was okay with it. Again, practical will always be my favorite. That being said.
Well, let me tell you, they did design some practical effects for this movie.
Oh, okay.
And there are differing stories because when you listen to the commentary, it's the director and the writer.
Okay.
They talk nicely about it. They talk about it as if we did these practical effects and in the end they didn't look good enough, so we augmented them with with CGI.
Okay.
That you see in the movie. I've also read that the studio previewed this movie to audiences with the practical effects in, and test audiences complained that it was too 80s looking.
Oh, no. That would
so
be
the
cool.
studio requested CGI.
Okay.
So I don't know where the truth is, but another rumor is that after Matthijs made this movie, he was so fed up with how the studio treated him afterwards and the demands that they made that he stepped away from filmmaking for almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
And he vowed never to work with American studios again.
Whoa, wowza. Oof. Huh.
Now, I haven't heard this from his mouth.
Right, okay.
So this could be a rumor, but I kind of would believe it in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the scenes in this movie were filmed just 2 weeks before the movie actually opened.
Whoa. That's insane.
That's how under the gun they were.
Oh, that's awful. Oof.
Go ahead.
One thing I will say is, man, it would be really cool if the story is true that they showed test audiences the practical effects. Oh, wouldn't that be cool if we could get like a version of that just to see what it was with the practical effects? Since it was too quote unquote 80s, like I'm like, that would be really cool, man. I really want to see that version. Oh.
As far as I could tell, they are not on the Blu-ray that I have.
Oh, okay.
So that said, knowing all that, I will say that on one hand, I'm like you, and I accept the fact that they use CGI because that's what they're doing in 2011.
Right.
And we will look back on movies around the 2000s and such as CGI movies.
Right.
That said, I do think that the effects in this movie are hit or miss, especially with it being 2011.
That's that's a very valid point.
I mean, if you look back at The Lord of the Rings, there's better CGI in The Lord of the Rings, which came out in 2001 and the turn of the century, than there are in this movie that came out like over 10 years later. So
true. That's a good point. That is a good point, man.
I feel like the effects could have been better. I feel like they didn't have enough time to make them better.
Right.
That's what it seems like to me. It seems like they did these CGI effects and they just didn't have time, and the studio needed this stuff at a certain point and didn't give them enough time to actually make the CGI effects really, really good.
Which, I mean, again, that like when it comes to producers, who knows? But like that's what a movie to do that with. A prequel to one of the most loved movies, I mean, ever. Not even just horror, but like one of the most loved movies ever. You're doing a prequel. You're not giving them the time, the energy, the effort, the resources. It's like, man, of all the movies, like this is not the one you do that with, you know?
Yeah.
Just a slap on the wrist. That sucks.
Especially when you know that you're going to have audiences that are going to prejudge this movie.
Yeah.
Based on the original, kind of like you hinted at there. Now, the other thing I'm going to mention, and this is where I'm not going to spoil Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
I'm going to be a little bit vague. So this movie, the studio originally wanted this to be a remake. They were going to make a remake of The Thing. However, Matthijs and the producers talked to Universal and said, we want to make this a prequel. We want this to be the story of the Norwegians that we hear about in the 1982 movie, right?
Right.
So that said, I do enjoy this movie, but I do think that it hits too many of the exact same beats as Carpenter's movie.
Good. Yep.
And I'm going to get into those beats when we talk about John Carpenter's The Thing. I'm not going to get into them exactly here.
Right. But having seen both, you're right. Like, yeah.
You could have told a similar story, but departed a little bit more and not hit the same beat so that it seems like a remake.
Right.
So
that's a good point. Yeah.
One cool thing, though, I will say, one cool thing is that we get something that we did not get to see in Carpenter's The Thing. We actually see the scientists go to the flying saucer. We see that they find the flying saucer. We eventually see that they find this creature in the ice, and they take him back to their place.
Right.
And one thing I'm going to give Matthijs and the production designers huge credit for is that they didn't really have blueprints or models or anything like that. They studied Carpenter's movie.
Oh, wow.
Like frame by frame to make sure that they got the rooms and the look of the outpost. It's called Thule Station.
Okay,
it's hard to say.
That's cool.
But they studied it so that they got the look exactly right.
That's really cool. And there was definitely moments where I was like, oh, that's cool. I like that I see that thing, and now it makes more sense. Like, So that's... Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I like that they didn't have blueprints. Like they did a really good job not having that and just studying it.
Amazingly
That's really cool.
good job.
Yeah.
And in the commentary, they talked about how sometimes difficult it was when they saw like holes in the walls of some of the rooms in Carpenter's movie. And they're like, well, what could have created that hole? Like, how do we explain that hole?
Right.
You know, how do we explain this?
Why is there an axe on the wall?
Exactly. So that's one scene we'll talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
when they go to Thule Station in Carpenter's movie, when they find the block of ice with the hole in the middle of it, I think it's so awesome to see the scene that created that hole in that ice.
I agree. Actually, and that was one thing I did want to ask you, because it almost, while watching this, it felt I was like, this is almost a little bit of a remake of the Thing from Another World, like some of it with the creature leaving, and some moments. But I'm curious because you did read was it a novella or
Yeah,
whatever? Yeah. Do you remember? Does the creature get out of the block of ice in the novella, or does it kind of start the way the 82 thing does? I'm just kind of curious what the book had.
I have an awful memory, even though I read it like a few weeks ago. But if I remember right, in the novella, they actually melt the ice.
Oh, okay.
To get the creature out.
Interesting. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Funny. Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that when I was watching this, because I did think like, oh, this is almost a remake. Not really, but of the original,
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get into more things with the book when we watch Carpenter's
Totally
movie.
fair. Yep.
Because most of the book is about that part and not about, there is the scientist finding the saucer.
Right.
And blowing it up with thermite.
Right.
And also finding that this creature had somehow left its spacecraft. And the other crazy thing is that this is 100,000 years old, this spacecraft.
Right. Yes.
So
I don't know.
I could see you shaking.
Oh no!
Were you trying to? Oh, I thought you were trying to make it look like you were frozen.
Oh no! No, I'm not gonna do that.
Here's one thing I forgot to talk about in our last episode that I meant to mention.
Okay.
But having seen John Carpenter's The Thing,
yes,
before I ever saw The Thing from Another World, which we talked about in our last episode, one thing I forgot to mention was the title card. The title card of The Thing from Another World has like the words, the thing kind of burning into the screen.
Oh, yeah.
And light shining through it.
Yeah.
And I like how this movie continued that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But the font is a little bit different, and I gotta admit I was slightly disappointed that they used a different font.
I get that. I get it. I'm with you.
What'd you think of the acting?
It was good. I liked everyone. I've Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I love dearly. One of my favorite movies of all time is Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and she is Ramona Flowers in that. So that's what she's done a zillion things. That's what I will always know her for, though, because that movie is near and dear to my heart. So whenever I see that she's in something, I'm like, I get very excited. I'm like, she's great. I love her. So, and good. There's some people that have definitely, like Joel Edgerton, we've seen a zillion times as well.
Joel Edgerton, otherwise known as Uncle Owen.
Yes, that's right.
From Star Wars: Revenge of the Sith.
And Obi-Wan.
Was he in Obi-Wan as well?
Mm-hmm.
Did he reprise his role? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, he did. Yep.
But I just recently rewatched Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and of course I'm always like, that's Joel Edgerton as Uncle Owen.
He's everywhere now. But
it's too bad he didn't do anything else.
Yeah, what a bummer. what a bummer of a career that guy's had.
No, he has done other stuff. He was also in Warrior? Was it Warrior?
Oh yeah, with Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was a wonderful movie.
If you ever want to watch a wild little movie, it's called The Gift. The Gift. And he plays a real creep in it.
I've seen The Gift a long time ago. I have no recollection of it at all.
It's good. It would be one that may or may not have a trigger warning. I'll just say that. But I do recommend that movie.
What about The Great Gatsby? Did you see The Great Gatsby?
You know what? I didn't, and I because I hated that book in high school so much.
Oh,
I did. I hated it, man, and so I just refused to see the movie, and it has like everybody ever in it. But
it's because they made you read it.
It's exactly right. That is exactly why I hated it, because they made me read it, and
which is pretty much why you hate all the movies that I pick, because I'm making you watch them.
Yeah. Do you know how often I've said I should just be done? Every other episode.
I should just pick all the movies.
Yeah. I think that's what the fans want. So
well,
no,
they do, but I wasn't going to tell you that.
I'm kidding. Are you kidding?
I delete a lot of our reviews because all they are Scotty's terrible and Andrew's the best.
Aw. Don't delete those. I need those. My self-esteem is real low.
Yeah, but mine's low too now.
Dang it.
It's like a damn seesaw. A seesaw of emotions.
Look at us.
Hey, if we were two kids in a playground, one of us would be the one that gets off at the bottom of the seesaw so the other person slams into the ground. Remember that? Remember that when you were a kid?
I do actually remember that. I hated that. It hurt.
Yeah.
It's probably
What
why I have
about the
back
little-
problems.
What about the thing that went in a circle that you'd like have somebody sit in the middle and then you'd spin it in a circle and try and make them really dizzy?
Yep. Or fling out. Yeah. Yeah.
What about the little duck on the big spring that you would just go back and forth, back and forth?
And then also fling out. Dude, toys were dangerous, man. They were scary.
Were they what? They're not toys. What are they? They're
Like playground equipment.
Playground equipment. There you go. Playground equipment for kids.
For kids.
For kids. Let's just talk about that the rest of the podcast.
I'm game, buddy.
But no, going back to the actors.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
One thing that's really cool is that they wanted real Norwegians
Nice. Yeah.
to play the Norwegians. So they actually hired a bunch of Norwegians that are actually very famous in Norway in their
cool.
movies. In fact, let's see.
I know one guy. Isn't he from
Edvard Volner,
Mhm.
who, or no, that's the character's name. His name is Trond Espen Seim, I think is his last name.
Okay.
He plays Edvard in the movie, and the director in the commentary was saying that here's this guy who's playing this side character in this movie, but he's like basically Brad Pitt in Norway.
Wow. Dude, that's crazy. That's awesome. Oh, I love that. And I need to let me look up his name, but I might be wrong. But Christopher Hivju
Or
Hivju, sorry, is from Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah.
He's absolutely from Game of Thrones. He played Tormund.
Yeah, okay.
Tormund Giantsbane.
Wow, look at you. I love that. We watched the first 2 seasons together, buddy.
We did?
We did, yeah. I watched,
Oh,
we watched season
that's
1
right.
in like a day. I mean,
we
it was,
watched season 1 in a single day, all 10 episodes.
Yep.
What the hell were we thinking?
I don't know, but I was so glad you were there because there were so many characters, and every like 10 seconds I was like, wait, who's that, Scotty? Wait, which one? Wait, what do they do? Which actor? Who? And you were so helpful, man. Like it was so fun watching it with you because you knew the lore from the books and the show, and it was I love that. I'll always remember that as a show we watched.
And the times that I would go, hey, this character, don't get too attached to him.
That was all the characters. It was all of them.
All of them. But yeah, Christopher, I think it's Christopher.
That would make sense. Christopher Norway.
He played Jonas.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't recognize any of the others, but I just loved hearing how they were, and they all knew each other.
Oh, did
so
they?
when they came onto set, they were like friends already, which is awesome to hear about.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. I really love that. That's really cool.
So let's see. What else can we talk about?
Yeah, let me pull up my notes.
I have a bunch of little notes about things within the movie. See, here's the thing. Like, and I keep saying that. Here's the thing.
I know, but it works. It works so well.
It works so well.
It does.
I love the creature design in John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah, dude. Yes.
I liked the ideas behind the creature designs in this one.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
But for the most part, I didn't love them.
Yeah.
They were good, but they're not memorable.
Agreed. And really the one that is the most memorable is because of the 19...
We see it in Carpenter's The Thing.
Exactly. Yep. So I would agree with you on that. Yeah. Definitely not as nostalgic.
Here's a little sneak preview of our next episode, buddy. But I'll tell you, I had not seen Carpenter's The Thing in many years.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of us did the exact same thing. We watched this movie, and at the moment it ended, we were like, I want to watch Carpenter's The Thing right now.
That's exactly
and
right.
we put it on. I had totally forgotten about the Two-Face creature.
Me too.
Whoa!
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic creature.
I know.
Or design.
Yep. And once they go and grab it, I was like, oh, of course. Of course.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're so stupid.
I know, but it was a nice. But see, that's the thing is like, and even watching this movie, I knew it was a prequel, but I wasn't paying attention to the fact that it was a prequel. Like it was, I was just watching it for the movie. You know, I knew it was a prequel, but it kind of went in the back of my head. And so when I did watch, or actually I should say, when I got to the credits and we hear that theme, I was like, oh yeah, it's a prequel. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then, like I said, like you said, we jumped into the next one. And again, there's just a couple moments from like, oh man, yes, this is really fun to see. Like I'm happy about this. It made me giddy.
I love the fact that during that final scene where the helicopter is chasing the dog, which is directly from the beginning of the 82 movie.
Yep.
I love that they actually used shots from John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yes. Yep. Really
when
cool.
you see the dog running in the snow and the helicopter's like whatever the things above it, that is from Carpenter's movie. But then when you see what's his face? I forget his name right now.
Oh, the
when you see Lars shooting at it, that's from this movie.
Right.
But they recreated the exact shots from Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that they ended the movie with the beginning of the next movie.
Me too.
It's just so perfect.
Well, and it really, honestly, I feel like it's so fun to watch it as a double feature. It almost feels like you could watch it as a 4-hour movie or whatever, 5-hour movie.
Yeah.
Just because of that moment. Like you said, it makes some moments in the original even better. And I even thought it was like, we've talked about this before, where Annabelle Creation, this is sort of the opposite, but Annabelle Creation made Annabelle a better movie. Now, again, it's not that 1982's movie was bad in any way, shape, or form. It's perfect. But this did that same thing where it made some of those moments better. And I also think that the 1982 movie, being as beautiful as it is, made some of the moments in this really stand out and a lot of fun. They worked well in that same vein.
And now let's be clear. This is our opinion.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yes.
There's going to be, I'm sure, many people who disagree very vehemently.
True.
That's a weird word to say out loud, but I've seen it in books, so I said it.
I like it.
Vehemently. But there's going to be people that disagree with us very much who say that they actually prefer not really knowing what happened to the Norwegians and imagining it in their own head.
Which you know what? I get it. I can get that.
Yeah.
I totally get that. Yeah.
It's very, very valid.
Yeah. Actually, you want to know something, though? This did make me, without spoiling, but we did do another movie that this made me think about was, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but the movie Alien Romulus. We talked about there's another whole movie that could happen in that movie that we didn't see.
Yeah.
While I was watching this, I did think that I was like, ooh, that could be cool if they did ever do that. Maybe they do it, 35 years later, like they did with this,
Yeah.
But I'd be game with it because this was so much fun for me that if they did do that, I'd totally be on board.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Let's talk about some of the character stuff. It's funny you mentioned Alien, even though you mentioned Alien Romulus.
Right, yeah.
I didn't really think about this too much during or while watching this movie, but it is very true that Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who plays Kate Lloyd,
right?
She modeled her character after Ripley from Alien.
Oh, okay.
And when you think of it like that, you can definitely see how that's true. She starts off, she's just a basic, any other person.
Right.
But then she becomes kind of the strong person who survives until the end.
Right. And, I mean, genuinely pulls out the big guns, if you will, against the alien.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
I really love the scene after they find the creature, where she's sitting in her room at night looking up at the stars.
Yes.
It's a very small scene, but I really love the idea that she's now looking at the stars completely differently than she did 24 hours ago.
I agree. And I did think about that actually a little bit too, of like, can you imagine? I mean, honestly, like, can you imagine? Because you would. Everything you've ever known would be different. I mean, everything would be different.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But especially looking at the stars.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I like that scene as well.
As far as tropes in this movie go, you know, I think it has a bunch.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they didn't bother me. I think the character of Halvorsen, as far as that kind of a trope, he bothered me the most because he was the obviously kind of a-hole doctor. You know, when Kate questions him, he takes her aside and says, "Don't ever question me around the other people like that again."
I know.
And it's like, okay, come on, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I know that there's people like that, but we've seen it so many times. And of course, he's the one that wants to preserve the creature. You know, he destroys and he doesn't destroy the lab. Somebody else does.
But I did look at that because I thought that same thing, but I looked at that as an homage to Things from Another World, the Thing from Another World, where it was the scientist that wanted the creature. So
You're right.
I looked at it like
You're
that.
right, Andrew. I agree with you. Never mind. His character still bugs me a little bit.
Me too.
Because he is just too overt an a-hole, but
Yep.
I do agree with you on that, and you make a really good point.
Yes. Every once in a while it happens.
I like a couple of the misdirects in the movie, like especially in the helicopter.
Yes. Yeah. That was fun. That was good.
While the CG of Griggs's face splitting apart is a little questionable, I do love the fact that it's him, and you absolutely think it's the other guy.
Yeah. Well, because he's acting weird. I mean, again, he just saw his friend die. He's not talking. He's sweating. So they definitely, it's a good moment where a nice trick.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love too, and I know that we get something similar, and we might talk more about this in the 82 when we do that one. And it might be something you didn't like, but I do like how she figured out how to test who was the thing. I thought that was a cool way to do it. Again, that could be kind of an homage to the original, or maybe it's just taking something exact from the original, sort of. But I liked it. I thought it was kind of different enough where I was like, oh, cool, that's a good way. That's a fun way to do something a little different. That's still the same.
It was clever. It was very clever. However, I will then also say, because that happens, Carter and Jameson, they were in the helicopter when it crashed.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
After the test, after she's testing people or having them open their mouths, which I do think it was weird that the first few people she looked at didn't have any fillings, or they had fillings, I mean.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the rest all had fillings and were questionable. I'm like, really? It wasn't like here's a filling here, here's two people without, here's another filling, here's somebody without.
Right.
It was just like everybody was already grouped. But then so Carter and Jameson show up.
Right.
And they've basically made it back from the helicopter, which seems almost like an impossible feat. So people are automatically like, hey, you could be a thing.
Right.
So why doesn't Kate check their mouths? It's just a quick test, it's just a quick look in your mouth,
That's true.
We know from the end of the movie that she sees Carter's earring.
Right. True. Yeah. Yep.
But she never checks Jameson.
True. And you're right, it would be just a quick flashlight to the mouth rather than say go and tie him, because doesn't she say tie him up in the like freezer or whatever?
Yeah, in the other like thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would have been
or whatever.
A real quick flashlight move, and it would have been over.
And now let's be serious. This is something that happens to serve the movie instead of realism. If they had come in and Kate had seen his earring, she would have immediately said, he's human. He's got an earring.
True.
But she didn't say it out loud so that we could have the moment at the end of the movie.
True. That's a good point.
So I think that was one thing I questioned. I also wish Halvorsen had a better death in the movie.
Like, wait, I'm trying to remember his death.
Wait, how does he die?
I know, that's what I'm looking. I'm trying to remember.
See, look, you don't even remember how he died.
I know. I can't, honestly. Yeah, you're right. I'm like...
And to be honest with you, I didn't write it down either, and I've got both movies swimming through my head, so I don't even remember. But I remember it was lame. It was a lame death, and I think he just got thrown into a wall or something. I don't know. It was lame, and I was like, he's like the quote-unquote villain of this movie.
Right.
He should have had a much more excruciating death.
Like, I would have been cool with him being the one that's like, has the hand sucking out his face and then she lights him on fire. I'd be like, that's fine. Yeah, he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I agree.
It's not. Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention earlier when we were talking about the end of the movie with Kate and Carter, it's funny. As I was watching the movie and taking notes, I actually wrote a note that said, I think it would have been a lot cooler if we had finished that scene still not really knowing if Carter was a thing or not, was a creature.
Yeah.
Instead of what happens, so she burns him and you hear like the thing's screams like, right. And you're like, yeah, he was definitely the thing. What if she questioned him and she mentions the earring and he says, oh, it must have fallen out somewhere.
Yeah.
But then she still burns him. And you're like, ooh, that's bleak. And we don't know. He could have been human, but she doesn't know. So that's how bad the paranoia has gotten to all of them.
Ooh, I like that. That would have been a dark ending, and I am all about it.
Here's the funny thing about it, my friend. In the commentary, the director and the writer mentioned that that's how they originally wrote that scene.
What?
But they went with the way it happened.
Oh, man, that's a bummer.
I know.
Oh, I want a director's cut of this movie. I want it with the practical effects and that ending. Ooh.
I don't know if they ever filmed it. It was just how it was written originally.
Well, in my mind, they filmed it, and I want it.
To me, it feels like studio.
I agree. I bet you're right.
Studio interference, saying, let's have some kind of hint that he's actually the thing.
Yeah, let's like, yeah, for sure. The bad guy has to die and the, hero has to win.
What about the music, my friend? So let's talk about the score real quick.
Yeah, let's.
Marco Beltrami, who we've heard from before. He scored Scream, Scream 2, Scream 3, a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he did something we talked about recently, but I can't remember which movie it was. But
yeah,
he did the score for this one.
I'll be honest with you. The only music I really remember is the end at the credits where we get John Carpenter's. And I know that's bad, but I think it just, if I watched again, maybe I would hear it. But that was such a moment for me while watching it that that's now all I can kind of remember music-wise.
Buddy, I kind of agree with you.
Okay.
I will say that there are some nice moments in the score when you listen to it. But when I think about it a lot, I do think the same thing. I originally said that I love this score because it reminisces back to John Carpenter's movie a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, it's just fine.
Yeah. Yep.
It's an action movie score.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's a good way to say it. Yeah.
I think that's about it for me. I mean, the only other thing we can talk about in more detail is the dog.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. As we mentioned, they see the remains of the dog. The dog is in its kennel, but it's half in and half out of its little shelter house or whatever, dog house. And there's a lot of blood.
Yeah.
And that's all we really see.
Yeah.
And we don't see enough of the dog for it to have bothered me.
Yeah, and me being, maybe a little less sensitive to it. I agree with you. When I watched, because you don't see it. You don't see any violence to the dog. You, again, like you said, see the aftermath. But, and you kind of mentioned this, you could see it as not real. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, well, it's not a dog. You know what I mean? That's not real. I'm fine with, So yeah, it wasn't too terrible for me.
Yeah. And another quick note I'll have, I really appreciated the scene where Carter is up in the helicopter with Jameson and the two guys in the back. And Jameson says, Kate is trying to flag them down and have them land. And Jameson says, let's just get out of here, man.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Carter wants to land the helicopter. He says,
did too.
You know what? Let's land.
Yeah.
We're in another movie with more trope-ishness. They would have said, like, you know what? It's fine. Let's go.
Yep.
They would have treated the woman like she's crazy. But no, he believed her. He believed her, and I like that.
I did too. And I like that the reason they couldn't is because of the transformation. That was why he couldn't land. So I agree. I love that he did the same thing. I thought that was really nice. I was like, that's a good way. That's how it should be. You see someone waving you down, and you're like, oh, that's probably bad. I need to check that out.
Yeah. Let's just be on the safe side. Yeah.
Yeah. You just check.
Do you have any other notes?
No, I just looked a second ago. I think because it's funny, like I have other things I want to bring up, but I'm like, nah, it's more for 82. So
yeah.
Yep. I think I'm good.
So let's do 3 questions.
Let's do it.
Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3.
Question number 1, my friend.
Yeah.
What did you think was the best kill or death in The Thing 2011?
I gotta go with Adam because he becomes that 2-headed thing that's so nostalgic with the original. So I gotta go with that one.
That's a good one. I almost picked that one myself. However, I went with Jonas. Jonas has the hand that detaches from the other guy, Edvard, I think.
Yeah.
And then the hand attaches to Jonas's mouth. And I just see this is the part that had more practical effects. And the way that they made Jonas's face look with this hand that's like whatever, like inserting stuff into Jonas's body.
Yeah. Yep.
And then Kate burns him before anything really horrible happens. But I really love that.
That is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's a great death. And horrifying, dude. A horrifying death.
Horrifying. Plus, I really liked him. I like Christopher.
Me too. He's fun.
Question number 2. Do you think The Thing 2011 is scary?
Very good. It's like when we ever get those calls, we always got those like calls on the phones like, we have your Sears catalog at the so-and-so location. Anyway.
Movie phone.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly right.
If you'd like to hear about The Thing, press 3.
I'm going to click 3. Boop. And now we listen to our podcast. I don't think it's scary. I think, though, that if people... I think people could find it scary. There's some creepy moments, eerie moments. If people don't like alien type things, this could scare them. But I don't find it scary.
Yeah, it feels more like an action movie to me with some horrific monsters.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm with you. Question number 3, buddy. Did you have fun with horror?
I did. I had a lot of fun with horror with The Thing 2011. What about you?
I did have a lot of fun through quibbles and things I liked. I had fun revisiting this movie.
Hey.
Especially because of what comes next.
Took a sample of Henrik's blood. And I saw that the alien cells were still alive. They were alive, and they were copying Henrik's cells, replicating them.
All right, my friend. I think we all know what's coming next for our next movie, but I need to hear you say it. I need to listen to the words come out of your mouth as to what we're watching next.
My friend, our next movie is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, buddy. Although that would be fun.
Nice.
We are absolutely continuing, and we are going to watch The Thing from 1982.
Yes.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Awesome.
Which is going to be interesting because this is all because of a request
right
on Spotify. So, people, if you have requests for movies, we might just do them.
We might even do the whole freaking series.
We might do 3 movies when you request 1. So,
and if you're wanting Candyman, we already did that series, all of them right in a row as well. So go back
and we're not going to do them again.
No.
The only movie we're doing again is Psycho Gorman, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm
At
just kidding.
some point, we will do that maybe for the patrons. We'll see. We'll see. I'll revisit it. We've talked about it.
So, if you have not seen, or if you just want to watch John Carpenter's The Thing, it actually looks like it's not streaming for free anywhere.
Bummer.
Everywhere I see is buy or rent. So you can buy or rent it, but I think everybody's mostly seen John Carpenter's The Thing. It's going to be a very interesting conversation, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm excited, though, for it, because that's...
Me too.
Oh, man, what a classic. Yeah, it's going to be fun to talk about with you. Because I don't think we've really ever, I mean, even pre-podcast, ever really discussed this movie. So it's going to be fun to just dive in.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So, yeah. All right, everybody. Well, as always, thank you so much for listening to Fun with Horror.
Yes.
We appreciate every single one of you.
Every one of you. Not just some of you. Every one of you is appreciated.
I will even go so far as to say that I appreciate all of your cats and dogs and other pets. If you have a chicken as a pet, I appreciate that chicken.
You know what? I'm going to piggyback off you. Piggyback. Animal.
Piggyback, my friend.
You get it. And I also appreciate all of your pets or family members or babies, whatever you want to call them.
Oh, so you went with babies.
Well, I meant like a fur baby, but also, yeah, if you have babies and
fur
children
babies.
and partners or what, you know what? We just love this podcast is filled with so much love. It's ridiculous.
You know what, buddy? I'm going to peel you off of my piggyback and I'm going to piggyback onto you and say that if anybody out there has a raccoon as a pet,
yeah, dude,
for the love of God, please let me come over and pet it and love on it, because I cannot have a raccoon as a pet, but oh my Lord, do I want to pet a raccoon.
That would be pretty sweet.
Also a koala bear, but I realize that's a little bit more difficult. But yes.
We do have listeners, though, in Australia where koalas are more... Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
But I don't think they have them as pets.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right. But they are there.
Okay, but Andrew, here's the thing.
But before we do, I'm going to take a tissue sample.
Do you really think that's a good idea?
Yes, I do.